Okay, welcome to another SEO rant with Josh Bachynski. Today I'm talking about the new Webmaster Tools manual penalty report that's come out and the scandal that's come out around this tool. There's some very interesting and controversial results that happened when they released this. And then also they released a video of the different kind of manual notices you'll be getting in this tool. So let's take a deeper look at that. Okay, so on August 8th, Google released a manual penalty or manual action reporting tool in Webmaster Tools. Basically, it shows you what types of penalties that they're going to be releasing. There's 6 apparently, and they have videos to correspond with each of them, and I'll go over that in a second. But when people started taking a look at what this tool was reporting, it provided some very interesting and, quite frankly, some controversial results. So I took a look, so immediately, of course, I'm sure most people did, as soon as they saw this, they're like, okay, well, let's go check. I had a manual action, a few months ago, let's go check to see if it's gone or whatever. So obviously I do a lot of penalty fighting for clients and fixing up sites and getting them all cleaned up and fixed up and ranking again in Google, as well as also ranking sites as well. And so I have a number of clients, obviously, who have manual actions who've come to me to get them removed. None of my clients who I do SEO for on a regular basis have manual actions. These are clients who got one and then came to me to fix it. And so I had at least 8 or 9 at the time, and so I checked, and this is the very interesting thing. All of them previously had received unnatural link notices, which is pretty common, and the action, the manual action that was taken, the penalty that was given, was against the site. Now you have to be very careful because of the different kind. There's also a manual action. There's an unnatural link notice they can send you. But if you have to read it very carefully, because now they said in that report, they'll tell you that they've taken an action on the links, not the site. So what is the difference? Well, a manual action on the site means that the site has a penalty. And we'll talk about exactly what that means in a couple seconds. But long story short is the site as a whole has a penalty, and it'll be more difficult to rank. In fact, it could even be taken right off page 1 to like oblivion, right? Whereas the unnatural link notice action versus links notice means that they've looked at your backlinks. Some of them looked questionable to them, suspect to them, and they devalued those links. They automatically no-followed those links that they thought looked suspect. Now, the two things are obviously totally different, and you have to handle them in a completely different way. If you receive the unnatural link notice action versus site, you need to actually go through the whole rigmarole of trying to delete the links or disavow them and submitting a reconsideration request, and I'll go over exactly how you would do that in just a couple minutes. But if you receive the unnatural links notice for action versus links, what do you have to do? Nothing. You don't do anything. They've found some of your links, whether you made them or not. It was a negative SEO attempt. Someone else made them, or they're not sure if you made them. They can't be sure because they don't have a very high commercial intent, or you don't have a very high percentage of them in your backlink profile. And so they've ignored the links, and you're not supposed to do anything. You're not supposed to disavow any links because that would just be dangerous. You'd be shooting yourself in the foot. The value, the page rank of these links has already been removed. So there's nothing good or bad. So there's nothing for you to do. It would be dangerous for you to do anything other than keep trying to SEO your site, keep trying to build up a great site and get links and get social and all those good things. Here's the problem. The problem is that when I went and checked my 8+ clients who already had unnatural link notices action versus site, and I checked because I make every client send it to me to make sure to read that that's what they received, and they did have manual actions, action versus site. When I went in to check, every single one did have an action versus site. When I went in to check, every single one in this tool, it said that they had an action versus links. This is totally different. It means that they no longer, not only does it mean that if this is true, that it said they had this action versus site, and now they have action versus links. So the question is, which data do you trust? If the action versus links is true, that means not only do they not have to do they no longer have to disavow any links or try and contact anybody or make up these fake reports saying they're contacting people to show good faith to try and send to Google. Not only did they not have to do that, not only do they not have to do that now, they never had to do that back then. They never had to do it at all, right? So this is just crazy. And I've checked with a lot of other people online, and they're reporting the same thing. So a few days later, the tool was taken down out of Webmaster Tools, saying that it had a bug in it, and it was down for the entire weekend. They just brought it up this week. Now I've checked again, and the same results. All 8 or 9 clients that I checked, they all originally had unnatural link notices, action versus site, when they received it, the message. Months, some more than 6 months ago, some less than 6 months ago. And now I checked again this week, all of them, that's changed now to it's all an action versus links. That means they don't have to disavow any more links. They don't have to do any more reconsideration requests. They can just ignore that and keep building as normal. That also means they never had to in the first place. That means Google has basically totally screwed them if this is what has happened. So this is why I call this a huge scandal. That means, we all knew that Google was screwing us this way or that way. This is a particular way they've been screwing us. And so you got to wonder, well, really, they sent out however many 100,000 unnatural link notices in the last year or two. How many, and ever since the disavow tool has been removed, tens of thousands of unnatural link notices. And they all said, most of them said, action versus site. For all of them, it said action versus site. You have to wonder, was it really an action versus the site, or was it just an action versus the links, and they just either made a mistake sending out the wrong message, or just didn't care to specify the difference, or maybe, quite frankly, and this is probably my guess, they just wanted to get the data for us to put in their disavow tool to use for the machine learning. Because remember, this is the build-up for this last linking death summer SEO of death that we've just gone through. So I think they were just trying to get the data from us for the disavow tool, and so they sent out that it was a natural link notice, action versus site, oh, you have to clean it up, oh, blah, 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 it's terrible, but really it was an action versus links, and that wasted all these webmasters' time, it wasted all their money, it made people lose their jobs, it made people get laid off, it made them, waste money and time trying to clean this thing up that they never needed to do. So thanks, Google, again. So I told you this would be an SEO rant, but I've got a pretty good reason this time. So that's what I've found. And so the upshot of that is make sure you check your Webmaster Tools. It's under the search queries, manual actions. Check to see what they say you have. If you have nothing in there, then you don't have to worry about any manual actions. If it says in there you have unnatural links, but the action is versus links, that means you do not need to disavow anything. Stop disavowing. Stop submitting reconsideration requests. Stop deleting links. You might want to go and get back some of the good links that you removed. If you're paying for good links they hadn't found yet, you might want to get those back. See if your ranking increases. If you had powerful links that you removed, you might want to go get those back. See if your ranking increases. Now, be very, very careful with that. And you might want to get someone who knows what or is a good link these days. And that's a very, very, very tiny percentage of links. To check it out. And if you want that to be me, by all means, contact me. And before I forget, if you have any other SEO questions, you can contact me. If you need any other SEO help, by all means, contact me. My email address is joshbachynski@gmail.com. You can follow me at Twitter at joshbachynski for my various SEO diatribes I put out in smaller form, because there's only 140 characters are allowed. And last but not least, you can, of course, watch all my videos to get all of my secret Google leaks and SEO information that I get from my Google contacts and whatnot. At youtube.com/jbachins, J-B-A-C-H-Y-N-S. Which you're probably already watching this there, but you might not be. You might be on Google+. You could be on Twitter. Got this from Twitter. So, contact me if you need any help. Now, so what are these other kinds of manual actions that Google has and Google will nail you on? Well, Matt Cutts did put out a bunch of videos about how they work and whatnot, and so I'm going to go over them here and mention all of them and tell you what they are and how to get rid of them. Okay, so first one is user-generated spam on your site. I don't have much to say about that. If you have a site that people are spamming and putting user-generated spam on your site and Google sent you this action, all you can do is remove it. So remove it. Remove it and get a better CAPTCHA and or remove the ability for them to do that. Period. 2, the second one is hidden text and keyword stuffing. Now, This means, a lot of different stuff. A lot of people already know what this means, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Clearly, it means hiding text in CSS. They have a visual spider now, so in case you weren't in this decade, this is 2013, not 2003 anymore. In case you weren't in this decade, they can find pretty much all the cascading style sheet kind of hiding, or the font tag hiding, obviously. They have a visual spider, so they can just check to see if that text shows up big enough in areas. Even if it's tiny and gray and down here, they can still nab you for those kinds of things. So really, it's not really worth your time. There's no need to try and fake relevancy. The only thing that we've been trying to fake for the last couple of years is authority, right? So you don't need to hide text on the page anywhere. If you've been nailed by this, it just means that you've just been lazy and you've hidden some text somewhere that you shouldn't have, or they just are having trouble reading your HTML and CSS and realize this is a tab that you want people to click and get more information. You're not trying to hide it on purpose. But an interesting thing that was included in this was also badly spun text. He mentioned in the video that badly spun text can be included in the hidden text and keyword stuffing, especially if you're stuffing more keywords in there. This also means it's very interesting that badly spun text is also still manually checked. This is the manual web spam team. Naturally, of course, they do have algorithms to point out potential candidates that goes and find potential candidates. They don't check the trillions of web pages manually. The algorithms do, of course. But then the candidates get floated up to them, bubbled up is their terminology, to them. And then their manual web spam team, which they've got tens of thousands of web spam people on the web spam team. They have a call center, they outsource a lot of that over into India. They have ever since the beginning of 2012, I believe. So, yeah, they've got a lot of manpower on this, so they're very serious about catching these kinds of things. So that means that badly spun text and stuffed text is still manually checked. And yeah, so I'd be very, very careful about those kinds of things. Okay, now 3. This one was very interesting, and it's the type of manual action is just called, and I quote, pure spam, quote unquote, pure spam. Cuts in the video also calls this quote unquote black hat. He throws out the name really weird, like it's pure spam, also pure black hat, like he uses the adjective in a very strange way. And what was the definition of pure spam? When he says, and I quote, this is the infamous quote, any tech-savvy person would recognize as spam, is what they mean as pure spam, end quote. So he drilled down deeper into the video, into what this could possibly mean. It means, again, it means auto-generated gibberish. It can mean thin content, although they have one specifically for that I'll talk about in a second. It can mean repetitive spam. Essentially it means quote unquote a garbage site. So if you receive this pure spam, it means probably some auto-generated kind of gibberish just for sales and some kind of garbage site. So you know who you are and you know what you've done if that's the kind of thing they've nailed you on, they found you on. So basically the way to clean it up is to remove it. The next one is, again, as I just mentioned, thin content. Thin content is content with little to no added value, but not quite as bad as pure spam. This can usually mean doorway pages. If you don't know what a doorway page is essentially a landing page. You just want them to go right through that provides little to no value. Or they also could mean these exact match domain clone sites, especially local sites. So, like plumbing Michigan, plumbing this, with a bunch of places or names or whatever. So this is the kind of local site also that I mentioned previously in a couple other hangouts, rants, that they're going after. They don't want these kinds of local sites in the SERPs anymore. And they're going after it in a number of ways with enhanced listings. You need to get an enhanced listing if you're trying to rank locally. If you don't know what that is, by all means contact me. It's super, super important. And of course, Google Places, SEO. But they're also starting to rank in my last hangout, or maybe the hangout before, they're starting to rank now what I'm calling brand local priority. Whereas they're starting to rank Yellow Pages up there, Yelp up there, even Facebook pages up there above exact match domain local sites. They will only currently at this time, the date is August the 14th, 2013. Currently at this time in the summer of SEO hell, the only EMD local site they will rank is if they just don't happen to have good relevant Yelp or Yellow Page listings or Google Places listings to put up there. So it really is, in my opinion, it really is the end of that game. That game was used, since 2000, 2010 or so, and really has been going down ever since then. And they really, because they don't want these kind of phone-in sales kind of sites. They're just trying to collect. We're kind of like the web equivalent of call center, sales calls. I don't care either way. You know me, I don't care either way how you make your money, as long as no one's getting hurt, and no one's getting hurt in those regards. But this is not the kind of quality. This is not the kind of quality results they want in their search engine, and so of course they're going to police it. And so how are they policing it? Well, you have to have a Google Places listing. They're trying to make it reciprocated and checked on every level. Enhanced listings, Google Places listings, or Yellow Pages you have to pay for. Yelp has to have reviews, those kinds of things. So they're looking for other people to verify, because links just aren't a good enough verification anymore for them, of course. Speaking of which, here's the next penalty, and of course this is the biggest one that most people get, is the unnatural links to your site. This is not the same as the next one I'll talk about, which is unnatural links from your site. This penalty is unnatural, so you have to read very carefully that it didn't say that as well, and to go disavowing your links when it's the links on your site that are a problem, not the links pointing to your site. But this one is the one that everyone, most people have gotten, the most infamous one. Unnatural links pointing to your site. So what are they exactly? Well, as we probably all know, they are quote-unquote low quality or spammy links that point to the whole site, any part of the site. Of course, it works on a threshold, and it affects two things, as I mentioned. Either it affects the whole site, so the action is versus the site, or the manual action is only taken on your backlinks. And again, that's a huge difference, and you have to check to be sure. So by all means, contact me if you don't know how to check or don't know what this means. Contact me and I can help you out. Now, when it affects the whole site, I suspect, and my tests seem to indicate, in my many years of experience and how many hundreds of sites I've worked on to try to get the penalties removed and algorithmic demotions removed. Usually it's on a site that has, like the vast majority, like 70, 80, 90% are commercial over-optimization links, where it's clear that if any human being looked at the backlink profile, they could see, well, obviously you were trying to optimize for buy red apples or those kinds of obvious search queries. Or I want red apples, or I want to buy red apples. Those are the links. The 50% of the links are those. Well, clearly, that looks very suspect to them. Whether or not you made them or not, it doesn't really matter. It looks suspect to them. And that's when they'll usually take an action on the whole site. When the more it looks like that, they'll take an action on the site. The less they can prove that, like if it's just like www.redapples.com, or if it's like great site, or click here, or just gibberish, then they might not be sure if you made them. It could be negative SEO. Because remember, negative SEO has skyrocketed. The amount of negative SEO has just been hugely increased. And so Google still has to be careful that they can't make it too easy to do negative SEO. And so they still check. This is why they have action versus links, because they're not sure, so they just devalue the links. And I bothered to tell you. A human being actually bothered to go, I'm not sure, click. Whereas they have algorithms which just devalue suspect links anyway, right? Then they don't tell you a damn thing about it. So, be that as it may, the question is, how do I fix it? Well, to fix it, there's a number of things you can do if you receive the unnatural links notice to your site. You can add a no-follow to the links if you want to. You can, of course, stop paying for them if you paid for them and see what happens. You can delete the links. You can delete or no index or 404 or 410 the target page. So if you didn't build all your links to the index page and you have another page that you built links to, you can delete that page, no index it, and make it serve a 404. Even better, make it serve a 410, which means permanently gone. Because 404 could still keep around for months and trying to keep respidering it, and they count that link juice, in this case bad link juice. Or 410, the target page. Also, supposedly you're supposed to be able to robot it out in the robot text file, but John Mueller says that actually won't work. So I would, because you have so many other options, I would go with what he says. 410 will work for sure. 404 will work for sure. No indexing will work for sure. And they won't be able to pass PageRank that way. Although in these videos, these Matt Cutts videos, they kept saying multiple times that you could also robot it out. You could put it in the robot text, and that If they can't crawl it, they can't pass PageRank to it. But John Mueller says that's not the way it works. So there's a discrepancy in what actual Google employees are saying. So who knows? I would go with John Mueller on this one just to be safe. Okay. And then finally, you can disavow the links, which is use their infamous disavow text upload method, which means it's kind of like a robot text as well, in that it says if the backlink URL is in this disavow file, then we will not count the page rank, and we'll just essentially count it as a no-follow link, good or bad. So you can really shoot yourself in the foot by using it. So do not, I know I said this every time, but every week I get 5 people contacting me says they have. Do not use any of these tools. Do not use any of these link detection tools. Do not go in and just throw links that you think look spammy to you in the disavow file. Trust me, more people than not shoot themselves in the foot, and then they did this, and then the rankings go down. They don't know why. I'm like, well, probably because you shot yourself in the foot and you put all these links in the disavow file. So do not do that until you've contacted an SEO professional who actually knows the value of links and knows which ones are safest to delete or disavow. Maybe myself. Or a few other good ones that are out there. Okay, and last but not least, the most important thing in all of that is nowadays you have to prove good faith. You have to show good faith. You have to, and this is the exact phrase they used, you have to quote unquote reinstate trust. This is exactly how you do that. What you do is you make a spreadsheet with all the links on it that are bad, or that your SEO says are bad. They also happen to be the lowest powered links. It doesn't really matter if you lose them too much. And you make a spreadsheet of all those links, and you make another column saying contact, and you put in there that you contacted them twice. And then some of them you say are deleted, some of them you say they promised to delete, and the rest you say would not respond, must disavow. So this makes it look like you contacted them. Also, you have to say you've contacted them at least twice. You can go say 3 times if you like, just to vary from everyone else doing what I'm saying here, following this template here. Maybe you want to put in 3 times just to make it look like you're not just watch the same video. But it has to be at least 2 times. It can't be once. That was specifically mentioned in the video. 2 times, quote unquote, was mentioned in the video. So you have to show them that you really seriously tried to contact those webmasters and clean up the web because you're such a good web citizen like they want you to be. I'm going to vomit Google. And then, so you have to really show that you've tried to clean it up. And this is how you go about to reinstate trust. Now remember, this is my experience talking, not the video, but I've seen this too many times for me not to mention it. If you're doing your first reconsideration request, you'll probably be okay if you can show this, if you can prove this good faith, and you've put enough of the suspect links in the disavow file. That's really what you need. Put enough suspect links in the disavow file and show enough good faith by giving them the spreadsheet, not making don't make a novel of the story of your trials and tribulations. Just in the spreadsheet, very, very sorry, didn't realize, fired the SEO, this was his name, make it up, hired a new white hat SEO, they're great, blah, 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 blah. You can contact me. You'll make it look as above board as possible, like you're trying to be as above board as possible. Give them your name, your phone number to contact you, those kinds of things. So you can prove that you're trying to be above board. If you're doing this your first time, you'll probably be okay. But if you're doing this your second or third time, quite frankly, Google has already admitted, Matt Cuss has already admitted, you're likely not going to get the site back. I repeat, if you're doing your second or third reconsideration request for unnatural links to your site, and both times it was because it was commercial and clearly they caught you red-handed, obviously you're trying to manipulate their system like everybody else was. I'm not being moralistic when I say this, but just using their terminology. You're probably not going to get it back. Sorry, that's just the way that it is. Now, of course, if you've received it in the last 6 or 8 months or so, it could very well have been that you actually had an action versus links and not an action versus site, and you never need to disavow those files in the first place. So maybe you should put them back, and your ranking might get better. And that doesn't mean you can't rank the site when it has a manual action. And manual actions do eventually expire from anywhere from 6 months to a year or 2, but usually 6 months to a year. So you might be able to get it back. But quite frankly, if you've been obviously caught red-handed 2 or 3 times, you're not going to get it all the way back. They're going to keep a partial penalty on you. This is pretty much what Google has already said. if you know where to look. So I would suggest starting a new site because, quite frankly, you might get a new site bonus. There's a lot of new sites that rank really well all of a sudden, and people are like, well, what the hell's going on? They get some social shares and they're ranking really well all of a sudden. And quite frankly, a new site might have a better ranking potential, especially if you contact someone who knows how to rank sites. They might be able to help you out with an exact match domain, or buying an age domain, or in the same topic, or something along those lines. So you might be able to get a new site back, and who knows, you might be affected by other penalties and demotions that you don't even know about. The site might have other trust. It probably does have other trust issues, because once you get one penalty, they seem to increase the percentage chance of you getting other penalties, right? Because that's just the way that Google works. They think, well, once you have one penalty, you're probably guilty. It will increase the chance other penalties you're going to get other penalties. At least that's definitely the way it seems. And a lot of other SEOs and people in the know have noticed this. It's kind of like, well, you get one, and all of a sudden you get two more. You're like, well, what the hell? So a new site might rank better. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh my God, my site, it's like their child, they put all this effort into it. But we don't have to get rid of that. We just change the domain names, register a new domain name. That could be better. And maybe make some other changes as well. If the site sucks, then we should make it better anyway, no matter what's going on. It's all part of SEO. So you might want to consider it. And even if you don't want to get rid of the old site, fine, then don't. So keep the old site, keep working on it, keep trying to get it done, and then make a new site with these kind of new SEO rules that are coming out with quality content and good usage metrics and things like that, and social integrated into the whole thing, which is like it's a whole package. Make a new site, maybe even try to sell a different way, and so you rank two at the same time. It increases your chances of getting to page one and having more options at page one for more different niches and verticals and SERPs. So if you can afford to do it, if you have a 10-page site, do it. Don't even think about it, right? If you have a 100,000-page site, okay, well, I understand why you would be hesitant. But if you have a 10-page site, just do it. And just don't even worry about the rest, and just run both, or just start on a new one. Especially if you've been really bad and this is the second or third time you've been caught and you've been hit by multiple algorithms, because then it really starts to look grim. It is possible to get it back. It is possible to clean it all up. I have done it for clients. I do it for clients all the time. But if you can change the domain name, you might consider that it might be faster and easier to do it that way, or run both at the same time. Okay, and finally, the final notice that they talk about is unnatural links from your site. So this means not links pointing to your site, but if you get this one, unnatural links from your site, that means on your site, linking out, there are unnatural links. And what do they mean by unnatural links? Well, basically they mean paid links. They mean Google does penalize you if they can detect you have paid links on your site, or that if you're offering paid do-follow links. So there's a couple ways to get around this. One, don't. Don't publicly offer paid links. Put that in a logged-in section, behind a logged-in section. Don't put any text. Use a graphic, or use cascading style sheet text, or some kind of non-ASCII text they can spider or robot.js, anything that the Google bot is not going to be able to spider. That if you have links that people can pay you to put a link on the site. And I would, quite frankly, to keep it private, to get it away from the algorithm, to float you up so someone will look at it. And when someone looks at it, that information has to be behind a paywall, or contact us for marketing solutions, or some kind of vague statement like this, so that people who are looking to put links on sites might figure out, oh, okay, they sell spots, I can get one. Or at least I'll email them and find out. Google's not going to bother to email you to find out. They're not going to pretend. This is not, Channel 5 News, get the special camera in their glasses, or Google glasses, or on the button on their shirt, a little special camera. They're gonna get a reporter sting going on here. They're not gonna try and call you and find out, do you offer paid links? Yes, you do. Ha! And flush your site down the toilet. Google's not gonna do that. They don't have the time. They don't care. So just make sure that if you do offer paid links, that's done behind closed doors, so to speak, behind some kind of login, or behind over email or something like that. And if you aren't selling links, but you do have sidebar links, I would strongly recommend to no follow them. I would no follow all the links on your site that you don't want to look like are paid links, or could possibly look like are paid links, image links, banner ads. links in the sidebar. Links in the header are fine because that's often where you find links for your site and for any kind of family associated sites, especially if they're all on the same topic. That's fine. If you have casino or herbal Viagra links in your header, this is still a problem for you unless you happen to be a casino or selling herbal Viagra. And the same goes for the footer as well. You can have, around 5 links there. They do penalize you if you have too many links there, especially if they're not on the same topic. If they're on the same topic or on similar topics, that's fine. And here's another little trick that people have been using. It seems to work very, very well in terms of getting trust for your site. Of course, remember they have a bunch of trust algorithms. My last little tip is outlink to high authority, high trust sites. So if you're in the medical niche, especially WebMD, Mayo Clinic, Wikipedia for all niches, Google, outlink to Google. So Google's a great search engine. Make a link to it. Facebook in general, or your Facebook profile, major, Pinterest, Twitter, Google Plus, all these major high authority, YouTube, high authority sites. It does seem to give you a little bit of a trust boost if you outlink to these high authority sites. And that's not only been confirmed by some of my experience, but some other people's experiments I've seen as well. And it doesn't hurt to do anything. It doesn't hurt. It takes 5 minutes to do it, so might as well throw them in there. Okay, so that's all the Google secrets and SEO secrets I have for you for today. If you need any help, if you have any SEO questions on anything I talked about, by all means contact me. You can email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. Follow me at Twitter at joshbachynski. And you can send me a message through Carrier Pigeon or Raven if you are a Game of Thrones fan. You can just chuck that Raven towards me and he'll find me up here at the scenic Bear Mountain. You can see the green, you can see the trees out there through the reflection. It's gorgeous up here. Come and visit. Why don't you come and visit me? Why don't you come on up? There's a resort here. We'll go play some golf. We'll go to the spa. We'll talk SEO. It'll be wonderful. So that's all I got for you guys this week. And again, contact me if you have any questions. I just couldn't believe that scandal. Just nuts. Check your Webmaster Tools to see if the penalty has changed from what they originally told you. And I will see you guys again next week. Good luck in the SERPs.